Welcome to the Nevada Room here at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office at 911 Parr Boulevard and the latest edition of Did You Know? Sheriff Darren Balaam, I'm Public Information Officer Brian Samudio. Thank you for joining us today. You got to do what you do. You got to get that information. You got to follow us at Washoe Sheriff on social media. That's Instagram, that's Twitter, that's Facebook. It's the ultimate when it comes to law enforcement in this area. When it comes to information and fun, that's where you got to get it. So click on that and please turn on your notifications so you know when things are coming. Sheriff, I woke up and there was this big bright ball in the sky this morning that I feel like we hadn't seen for weeks.
We haven't.
The snow's gone. Snow on the blind floor's gone.
You know what? It's kind of nice.
Yeah,
I didn't think we were going to
day.
see it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So to see the sun come out and not white stuff falling from the sky, I know especially up in Incline, they're very excited. Now our fingers are crossed. Hopefully it just slowly melts through the next couple months, but we're excited. It's a good day.
Before we get started, you want to give a shout out to your Incline deputies. Those folks busted their backs.
Yes, you know what? And for everybody up in Incline, but for the deputies, we flooded, unfortunately, for Incline. If you missed that on Saturday, so we had to evacuate. So if you're up in Incline and you need to find the sheriff's office, right now we're at the community center. But thank you to all the deputies up there and the supervisors and Public Works. They helped us a lot, and IT. So we had to move quickly, and we are now in the community center, and hopefully it won't be a permanent thing, but we got them out of the flooded substation.
A lot of hard work for a lot of people up there that are trying to get through this. And we need the snow. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be that old guy. Oh, we need the water.
Yeah.
But it is great for our community in Lake Tahoe, which depends so much on the tourism industry. We're going to talk about the HEAT team, and we're going to have Awaken come in here. We got two great guests, very, very intelligent, informative guests, human exploitation and trafficking team. Sheriff, Washoe County Sheriff's Office is very passionate about this subject.
Absolutely. You know, this is something that I think for all the organizations, but for me personally, when I ran back in 19, seeing it over the years, we knew about it, we'd heard about it, and with our 24/7 society here and community, we knew it was prevalent. Yeah. And so that was one thing I wanted to do if I had the opportunity and was able to, is to work with our fellow partners. And we have this regional HEAT team now. But it was more than just that, just going out and finding those predators. We also knew from our experience of working in the jail and everything else that we do day to day, that there's victims that we don't know are victims.
Yes.
We get calls for other type of calls where they unfortunately get arrested for something, and then they end up in our facility and we don't recognize. So it was a multifaceted approach that I was passionate about. And then it was an easy one when you came into the office because so many people here, so many deputies, law enforcement out, our other regional partners, they see it, they knew it, and now it's time to put something together. And so I know as a region, we are extremely excited about HEAT, and then our partnership with Awaken, of they're working with these victims and helping us as an agency, learn and educate in the jail, learn those signs. What are the signs of victims so that if somebody comes in because we didn't recognize it on the outside, how can we recognize it on the inside and get those services? And they've done a phenomenal job, and I know we're going to highlight that. And then on the outside, working with some of our partners, we know, again, they end up in the emergency departments. And so I know Awaken's been in there. And so it's been a awesome partnership with Awaken and watching it as a regional team move forward. And I'm sure as we talk about that with HEAT and our detective today, they're busy, which is sad. But it's a good thing that they're out there. And I know for all of us in the region, especially for me, I'm extremely proud of what they do.
Well, let's bring our guests right now. I mean, when you want to get from the horse's mouth, you go right to this gentleman, Deputy Yancey Butler, who's joining us from our HEAT team, and also Melissa Howard, the CEO of Awaken, incredible organization here in Reno. Welcome, both of you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. Let's start with you, Butler. When it comes to when you explain to somebody, I work for the HEAT team, there's so much to it. How can you actually describe that in a couple of sentences? It's probably impossible.
Yeah, it's hard to do it in a few sentences. Usually we have classes that last at least an hour to kind of explain everything. But our main goal is helping victims of sex trafficking, human trafficking, get away from their traffickers, get out of the life, and then build the best cases we can to get lengthy sentences for the traffickers, and then also demand reduction.
What kind of resources can the HEAT team provide to someone who, wants to get out? And we're going to talk with Melissa here in just a second about getting out of that lifestyle. And but what kind of resources do you provide?
So we have a victim advocate that she often rides with us during operations, and she'll be there immediately to meet with victims, and she can offer immediate resources, help them get a room for the night, food, water, shelter, things like that, and then figure out their short-term, long-term goals and how they can achieve those. And she's helped people relocate to different cities, get into special different programs, education, housing. So she has a lot of abilities and connections to help people out.
You said one word there that is so big in this, and that's advocate. Melissa, welcome. When it comes to these advocates, how special are these people? And I mean, just what they can do for people.
Our advocates are actually amazing. We make sure that, first of all, you love well and you know how to meet people right where they're at, because, you know, trauma is one of those things where you can't necessarily understand the circumstances of the person walking in. And so we have survivor advocates, and then we have advocates that have never been a part of the life, but understand how to love really, really well. And so they're incredibly important in the healing journey of a survivor.
Sheriff, I want to give you a chance to talk about the advocates at work here at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office.
You know, there's all advocates are special.
Yes.
But this advocate that we have, to show you how special she is, we lost the funding last year for her position, but she was so passionate with what she's doing and helping these victims. She volunteered her time while we tried to find another funding stream, which hopefully we have found. We have to take it to board, but she volunteered for the last couple months helping the HEAT team, but more importantly, helping those victims. I mean, that's how special, and it's across the board when you talk domestic violence, and all these advocates, they play such an important role, but this one, that is her passion, and she did it for free.
That's amazing. You talked about how sometimes someone will end up in our facility and you don't know that they are a victim. I mean, some people might think, oh, I'm going to see the signs. Sometimes you don't see the signs. I mean, right, Nancy?
Yeah, fortunately, our name is getting out there now, and we've been getting a lot of referrals from the jail. Our name's going around, and deputies are helping us with that too. And there's a lot of people reaching out to us for help. People that wouldn't normally be willing or trust the police, they're starting to come around.
Mm-hmm. Melissa, let's talk about your kind of association leading into this. It was your past career working as a marriage and family therapist and being able to offer that up. You worked with Jen Robinson in May of 2011. How much of a need in 2011 was there, and how much of a need in 2023 is there?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. I actually would love to piggyback on this first, because
Please.
The sheriff, one of the things he did, one of his initiatives was reaching out to Awaken so that we would also have access into the jail and do the walk and talk so that they know about the resources and that they have sort of a warm handoff to be able to come straight to us. And even just this week, we had 3 show up together that we had met because of the walk and talks we were able to do in the jails to help them identify the resources that are available if they consider themselves having been in the life. And so it is actually working. It's pretty fun to see. And so we have a survivor and another advocate that are able to do that. But I will tell you, at the time, just to go back to your question, in 2009 was my first entry point into this. And then through when we established this 2011, no one really knew this was an issue. It was barely talked about, but the prevalence still existed. We just didn't know about it. And so when I started studying this, I thought I was like last one to figure it out. And so I started to look up all the ways to get involved. And that's when I saw there was nothing happening. And so that's sort of when we just started going around to the community. And quickly, when we talked about the issue, they wanted to be a part of the solution, because we have a really special community. I think that everybody, when you find out, I mean, how horrible this crime is, you can't help but be moved to want to be a part of doing something to make it better for people's lives. And so we've just had a phenomenal response in our community for it.
Sheriff, I'll let you and Butler touch on that too as well. The need, when you saw it, you were running in 2019 and it was established 2020. Did it really open your eyes?
For me, absolutely. Listening, because before we were on the outskirts, and really it was Reno Police that had the 2 detectives that were doing it intermittently. And so I kind of heard about it, but once we started the HEAT team and started to get out there, and especially on the walkabouts, as we started to get our detention services unit and those deputies involved in walking around, and hear those stories of them coming back, or watching the caseloads as we started to build up the HEAT team, you saw how huge of a need this was. And we know, I would still say, and I'll let Detective Butler and Melissa talk, we've only peeled back the first couple layers of this onion.
Yeah. just over a year ago when I was a deputy or as a detective, I had no clue it was such a problem.
Yeah.
You hear about it, but had no idea how big of a problem it was. Just like 2 days ago, I checked online, did a search. There was over 800 ads for people that day in Reno for prostitution.
Jeez.
That's just on a Tuesday. So it's a huge problem here, everywhere, but especially here with casinos, I-80, 395. It brings a lot of people through here on a circuit. So they travel, sex traffickers will bring their victims from city to city, all around from Bay Area to Reno to Vegas, Southern California, throughout the Western states. So it's a huge problem.
It's not a big city problem. It is something that is striking smaller communities, small and mid-sized cities like ours. Melissa, I've looked at your website, which has so much information, so many resources. It's awakenreno.org if you want to look at it. I want to hit you with a couple of questions here. One, it's more of a statement. There's no cost to victims. And if somebody out there sees this and they are someone who is in this life and they want to get out, they can come to you and you can guide them down a better path.
Yeah, very early on, we knew we were never going to be able to charge for these services, especially knowing the financial piece of prostitution. We would never want them to have to be in harm to get the money to pay for help, because we know how the money comes. And so we were never going to charge for services. So everything is free of charge. And so it's just really important when they come there. Our drop-in center is the first usually point of entry, and it's survivor run. And so they're meted almost immediately with people that have been there, done that, and can identify with them. So they're just received really well.
Mhm.
And then they can go into case management. We have counseling, therapy, loads of groups, and a ton of fun, because it's really important, especially for those who have had traumatized childhoods, to have a proper childhood again. And then for our youth services, we have an education center, because when the minors are picked up and they're in high school still, what we don't want to see is them just have to go straight back to high school, where a lot of shame comes up, and then they get triggered and run away again. So we created an education center that they can do their schooling online at our center, connected to their mentors, their case managers, and all of the healing opportunities for them, and then re-enter back into school at the appropriate time. So loads of ways to be a part of the Awaken community for them, all free.
And you've reached nearly 1,000 women and children here in Northern Nevada. You're the only nonprofit in Washoe County that's dedicated to this. But you told us right before we came on the air, you're expanding. You're going to Wisconsin.
Yeah, we're in Green Bay, Wisconsin now as well. Yeah. Unfortunately, the need really is everywhere.
Yeah.
It is one of those sad truths.
Sheriff, I'm going to talk about some of the teams that are kind of aligned with this as well. Internet Crimes Against Children, Regional Sex Offender Unit, and HEAT. You've got to be very proud of the hard work that's being done by these folks at CERS.
Absolutely. This is something when you talk about it, and we put these regional teams together from all the partners from Reno Sparks and Washoe. We knew one thing when it came to the sex crimes, that unfortunately, the internet crimes against children, those children oftentimes, as they age out of being preyed upon at a young age, they often end up being trafficked at an older age. And the Regional Sex Offender Notification Unit, some of those sexual predators that have been convicted are not going to change their habits and will still continue to prey upon the young or the older. And so now having them all in one place where they can collaborate, they can coordinate, they have the forensic capabilities, they have just the resources. So if HEAT's going out, they can reach out to ICAC for some help. They can reach out to the Sex Offender Notification Unit, or vice versa. And it's sad, but at least they're all together. If they're looking for, or they have a victim, ICAC may say, oh yeah, I know who that is. They were a victim of one of my cases a couple of years ago. Or we're looking for so-and-so. Oh yeah, that's one of our convicted sex offenders.
Mhm.
So let's pool our resources together and go out and get them off the street so they can't prey upon those victims.
Truly a team effort, and across the board being able to help each other out and maybe cut into this a little bit and do it that way. But Melissa, how can people help you? Because it is a nonprofit. How can people help your cause at Awaken?
Yeah, so I mean, we always say time, talent, treasures, and so donating. You can go to awakenreno.org. You can give. We have different events coming up this summer. We have a fundraising burpee mile. If you want to put a team together and do a mile of burpees, you can put a team of 10 together. We're doing a hike this summer. We do an annual fundraiser. So those are ways to actively get involved and donate. And then we're always looking for volunteers for various things, whether it be I know how to work on a car, or I can help do with like building maintenance, or I want to be a mentor. I actually want to personally get involved with someone's life. We have meals teams, all kinds of opportunities. And so loads of ways to get involved.
Any type of skill set can help. I mean, if you're a carpenter, you can help out in some way.
Absolutely. Or if you're a professional that they actually might need your services, offer them pro bono.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's a wonderful program, and downstairs I see it myself, and being able to be in the building and see how hard folks work and be able to work across law enforcement agencies to try and curtail this a little bit. Sheriff, any final thoughts you have on this?
You know, I would just say this couple things. One, thanking Awaken, because when I reached out back in 19, that was the amazing thing about this community. And Melissa hit on it earlier. We have a special community. And so when I said, hey, you know, can you help us educate ourselves and get into the walkabouts? She jumped on that.
Yes.
You know, and then with the Heat team and all of the regional partners recognizing, because it's just not Reno, Sparks, and Washoe now. There's other law enforcement entities throwing in, even if it's not a full-time body, it's a part-time body, but it shows that as a profession, we're committed to going out and finding those predators and reducing the demand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's another thing they do. But the last thing I would say, ending, is if you're a victim out there, we're here to help. Whether it's walking into a drop-in center, or reaching out to Heat, or walking through our front door. So know you're not alone out there. Know there's resources. And I think, as Melissa said, we will meet you where you need to be met. We will not make you come here. So please, if you're out there and you find yourself in those circumstances, know that we're here as one big community and we're ready to help. And Brian, I want to thank you for helping us walk through this topic. I think this is one of those that I know we're passionate about. I know Melissa and her team, all those volunteers, are extremely passionate about. And so I look forward to our endeavors moving forward and growing, expanding, and hopefully reducing and eliminating this.
Melissa, I want to read one comment for you on Facebook, and thank you for all of you who have jumped on. A Kathlena Werntz saying, thank you. Awaken and Heat has been a blessing. And, you know, just know that people truly appreciate what you do for our community. So it really is appreciated. Melissa from Awaken on the end, I appreciate you being here today. Detective, thank you very much for your insight as well. Pleasure. And thank you for being with us today. But turn on those notifications. Follow us at Washoe Sheriff. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We've got a lot of great information, a lot of fun, and events and everything that's going on. We've got a golf tournament coming up that's going to be a blast. It's going to be up at Montreux. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But thanks for being with us here on Did You Know? For the Sheriff, Detective, and Melissa Holland, the CEO over at Awaken. I'm Brian Samudio. Thanks for being with us.